My name's Natalie, and last month my little sister tried to evict me from my own house. No, seriously, my house that I bought, that I designed, that I paid off. She used it for her wedding, and then exactly 7 days later showed up with her fiance, a fake legal notice, and a smug smile like she was doing me a favor. But don't worry, I wasn't alone. She brought back up her fiance's brother, a U-Haul, and my mother holding a casserole dish like it was all perfectly normal. It wasn't. See, this house isn't just where I live. It's my sanctuary. I spent 10 years building it. Literally. I'm an architect. I poured concrete with my own hands. I drew the blueprints on my bedroom floor. But now I'm in a full-on legal battle with my own family over my house. And trust me, this all started way before the wedding. It started with guilt. With subtle comments like, "Natalie, why does one person need all this space?" Then it escalated to, "Wouldn't it be beautiful if Chloe had her dream garden wedding here?" And before I knew it, I was hosting the wedding of the year for free, with conditions that no one respected and boundaries that got stomped on in stilettos. But the wedding was just the beginning. Because what happened after is when the real nightmare started. You won't believe what my sister tried to pull, and you definitely won't believe what I did next. Stick around. This story, it's about to get messy. I've always been the responsible one in my family. The planner, the fixer, the person who gets things done while everyone else just talks about doing them. I'm 30 now, and after a decade of hard work, I finally have the life I dreamed of. I'm an architect in Seattle, and 2 years ago I designed and built my own minimalist home overlooking the Sound. It's clean, quiet, and peaceful, everything my childhood wasn't. Then there's my sister Chloe. She's 27, a self-proclaimed influencer with a new career path every 3 months. One week, she's selling skincare on Instagram. The next, she's pushing crypto coaching courses or some exclusive MLM product. Every time it crashes, she somehow lands on her feet, usually because someone else cushions her fall. And that someone is always our mom, Vivian. Mom adores Chloe. She always has. When we were kids, Chloe could throw a tantrum and still get ice cream after. If I forgot to clean my room, I lost my phone for a week. Nothing's changed since then, except now the tantrums come with ring lights and sponsored hashtags. 4 months ago, Chloe called me squealing. I'm engaged, I hadn't even met the guy. His name was Lucas, and she met him at a crypto party. According to her, he was an investor. According to Google, he'd been part of 2 failed startups and 1 sketchy token launch. But try telling that to Chloe, she was already talking about a destination honeymoon and a joint YouTube channel. A few weeks later, Mom invited us all over for dinner. The usual scene, Mom fussing over Chloe, my stepdad Rick cracking dad jokes, and me quietly sipping wine in the corner, counting the minutes until I could go home. Then it happened. Mom looked across the table with that fake innocent smile and said, "Natalie, your backyard would be perfect for the wedding." I almost choked. I laughed it off, at first thought she was joking, but then Chloe clasped her hands dramatically, eyes wide like she was on camera. "Oh my God, yes, the house, the view, the vibe, it's literally my dream aesthetic." I said, "Chloe, I love you, but my home isn't a wedding venue." Before I could even finish, Mom jumped in. "Sweetheart, it's just one day. Think how special it'll be for the family." Rick nodded, adding, "You've got that big yard just sitting there. It's a shame not to use it." And there it was, the pressure I knew too well, the guilt trip wrapped in a bow of fake affection. Every word felt heavier than the last. Chloe leaned across the table, all sugary sweet. "It would mean the world to me, Nat. Please. We can't afford a venue, and you're the only one who can make this happen." I looked at her, at Mom, at Rick, and I realized this wasn't a request. It was an ambush. That night as I drove home, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just been cornered into something I'd regret. And trust me, I was right. After that dinner ambush, I spent 3 days dodging calls from my mom. And on the 4th day, Chloe posted a photo on Instagram that made my jaw drop. It was a selfie in front of my house. My house captioned, manifesting my dream wedding venue. Positive vibes only. Suddenly, her followers were commenting things like, "That view is stunning. OMG, is this your sister's place? She's so lucky you have to get married there. It's meant to be." The pressure campaign had officially begun, and it was relentless. I finally gave in, but with strict boundaries. I sent her a message listing out every condition. 75 guests. No loud music. No alcohol served after 8. No one allowed inside the house except for one designated bathroom. Event ends at 9 sharp. She heart reacted the message like we were planning a spa day. And for a few days, things were quiet. Too quiet. Then one afternoon, I came home from work, and there she was. Chloe on my back patio barefoot sipping iced coffee with some stranger holding a measuring tape. "Oh, hey Nat, this is Gemma. She's doing floral design for the big day, big day." I hadn't even signed off on a date yet. I looked at Gemma, who was scribbling notes like she was already under contract. Then Chloe smiled and said, "Don't worry, we'll handle all the logistics. You won't have to lift a finger." I didn't want to start a scene, so I told her she needed to text before showing up. She agreed, and then did it again. And again. First, it was the florist. Then a lighting guy. Then a woman with a giant binder and a drone. They'd come in like it was their second home, snapping pictures, pointing at corners, making decisions I hadn't agreed to. I tried calling Chloe. No answer. I texted, "This is not okay. I need 24-hour notice if anyone's coming over." She replied with, "Sorry, babe. Things are just moving so fast. We're so grateful. Promise we'll be out of your hair soon." But they weren't out of my hair. Because then came Brandon, Lucas's brother. The first time I saw him, I thought he was a contractor. He was carrying blueprints and pacing around the garage. Then I heard him on the phone saying, if we convert the back unit, they could sublet it for extra cash. Yeah, easy passive income. Excuse me. I introduced myself and he gave me this weird half nod like I was interrupting something. When I asked what he was doing, he just said, "Just helping the happy couple visualize." That was the moment I realized this wasn't a wedding anymore. It was a takeover in disguise, and I was letting it happen one tiny boundary at a time. But not for much longer. A couple of weeks later, I had to fly to Portland for a 3-day client project. When I got back, I pulled into my driveway and froze. There were trucks everywhere, a cement mixer, piles of lumber, a man with a shovel digging straight into my backyard. I got out of the car, completely stunned, and yelled, "What is happening here?" One of the workers looked up and said, "Wedding prep, ma'am. We're putting in the custom arch and resurfacing the patio." My stomach dropped. Resurfacing my patio without permission, and then, like he owned the place. Lucas strolled out from behind the gazebo wearing sunglasses and holding a clipboard. "Oh, hey, babe, welcome back. You're gonna love it. We're just making a few improvements for the big day." I could barely process what I was hearing. Improvements. Lucas, this is my home. You don't get to dig holes in my yard. He laughed this condescending little chuckle. "Relax. We'll cover it. My buddy owes me a favor, so it's basically free." That word "will cover it" set me off. I snapped, "You're not covering anything. You're trespassing. Everyone out. Now." The workers glanced at each other, awkward and confused. Lucas muttered something under his breath, but waved them off. As the last truck pulled out, Chloe came running up the driveway, mascara already smudged like she'd been crying for hours. "Why are you doing this?" she sobbed. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone. You're ruining the wedding." I told her calmly, "No, Chloe. You're ruining my property." She stormed off, and 30 minutes later my phone rang. It was Mom. Honestly, Natalie, she started, "You could stand to be a little more supportive. Chloe is under a lot of stress. You're making this harder than it has to be." I said, "Mom, she hired contractors without my permission." And Mom's voice changed sharp, defensive. "Oh, stop being dramatic. You've always been jealous of your sister. She's finally happy and you can't stand it. That hit like a punch. Jealous of Chloe. I tried to explain, but Mom just kept talking over me until I finally hung up. A few hours later, I heard laughter outside. I looked out the window and there they were, Chloe Lucas and his brother Brandon standing in the backyard drinking beer like nothing had happened. I stepped outside and said, "You three need to leave. Now." Lucas turned smirking and said, "Come on, don't be the spare daughter right now." The spare daughter. The words hung in the air like poison. I didn't even respond. I just pointed toward the gate. They left slowly, whispering and laughing on their way out. That night, I sat on the couch in silence, staring at the blueprints of my home spread across the coffee table. The house I'd built, the peace I'd earned, it suddenly felt invaded. And I knew one thing for sure. If I didn't draw a hard line soon, I was going to lose a lot more than my backyard. About a week later, we had brunch at my mom's place. It was supposed to be a calm family catch-up. But in my family, calm usually means someone's about to smile while stabbing you in the back. I showed up early, hoping to avoid drama. I offered to help with the food, so I was in the kitchen chopping fruit while everyone else started to arrive. That's when I heard voices from the living room. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop truly, but when you hear your name and the word move out in the same sentence, your ears perk up real fast. Chloe was laughing, and I heard her say clear as day, "After the honeymoon, she's moving out. I mean, she's single, she doesn't need all that space." Lucas responded, "I already talked to a notary. We just need her to sign a couple of those wedding liability documents and we're in." I froze. My knife was still in my hand, half a strawberry on the cutting board, and my heart just dropped. Not because they were planning something behind my back, by this point I expected that, but because I knew exactly which documents they were talking about. They had asked me a week earlier to sign some basic wedding paperwork for insurance purposes. I hadn't signed them yet. Something felt off. I left the kitchen and went straight home. Didn't say goodbye, didn't fake a smile, nothing. I was done pretending I didn't know what was going on. I pulled out the paperwork they'd sent me, and sure enough, the language had been changed. Buried in the middle of the third page in vague legalese was a line about temporary co-occupancy rights in exchange for event accommodation. Co-occupancy rights. They were trying to use my own signature to give themselves a legal foothold in my house, and not just for the wedding. I called my lawyer that night. I told him everything about the pressure, the shady contractors, the altered paperwork. He didn't even hesitate. Install cameras, inside and out, now, and don't sign a single thing without me looking at it first. That night, I installed 4 surveillance cameras, front door, back, patio, garage, and hallway. I changed the locks. I updated my security system. I added motion alerts. I wasn't being paranoid. I was preparing for war, because now I knew this wasn't just entitlement. This was calculated, and they thought I wouldn't notice. They thought I'd roll over like always, but they underestimated something big. I've spent years building boundaries, and now I had the receipts, the lawyer, and the cameras to back me up. Let them try. I was done playing nice. The morning of the wedding, I was up at 6. I didn't sleep much the night before. Too many scenarios running through my head. But I wasn't nervous. I was ready. Vendors started arriving at 7:30. Chairs, tents, catering trucks. Flowers, a team of teenagers carrying trays of cupcakes, chaos from the start. Thankfully, I had backup. I hired 2 off-duty officers to work security. They were polite, professional, and most importantly, they didn't care about family drama. They cared about rules. At 10 a.m., Chloe's wedding planner tried to come inside to set up a bridal suite. She said she needed access to my master bedroom. I laughed, and then I locked every door but the guest bathroom. By 2 p.m., the guest list had already blown past the 75-person cap I'd set. By the time I did a head count, we were already over 130. Apparently, someone had changed the RSVP form to say, "Bring a friend." Lucas brushed it off like it was nothing. It's a wedding, Nat. The more, the merrier, right? No Lucas. Not when I'm the one liable. Then came the DJ. He rolled up with a giant truck full of speakers, massive subwoofers that clearly violated the city's residential noise ordinances. I stopped him at the gate. He said Lucas had cleared everything and that it was going to be a full experience. I told him he could either pack up or get a visit from the police department. He chose to leave. Lucas was pissed. He tried to play it cool, but I saw him pacing behind the catering tent slamming a Red Bull. Then, around 4 p.m., guests started arriving. Security was checking names off the list. 12 people were turned away for not being on it. Each time someone would try to call Chloe. Each time she sent a text saying, "Let them in, Natalie's just being difficult." Too bad, the officers weren't answering to her. At one point, I overheard Chloe telling her cousin, "Yeah, we're moving in after the honeymoon," Natalie offered. "It's just temporary." She's being so generous. I nearly choked on my coffee. Then later that night, one of her bridesmaids, completely wasted, wandered up to me while I was checking the catering area. She said I helped Brandon carry the dresser into the garage last night. Girl, I don't know how you're giving up that house, but props. I just stared at her. What dresser? She blinked like she didn't understand the question, then hiccuped and walked away. I ran to the garage. Sure enough, Lucas and Brandon had moved in a dresser, a rolled-up mattress, a box of kitchen utensils, and get this, a coffee maker. They'd already started staging the space. I didn't yell. I didn't call anyone. I just pulled out my phone, documented everything, then quietly walked back inside and waited for my moment. At 8:50 p.m., I stepped onto the stage where the DJ would have been if he hadn't been escorted off my property. I picked up the mic, cleared my throat, and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, the party ends in 10 minutes. If your name isn't on the guest list or the contract, please begin making your way to the exit. Security will be assisting. Anyone still on the premises after 9:10 will be considered trespassing, and I'll be contacting the police." Dead silence. A few gasps, a slow clap from my cousin Ben in the back, and Chloe. She turned pale. Lucas glared at me like I'd just ruined his birthday. But I didn't care, because this was my home, and I was done being the doormat. Exactly 1 week after the wedding, on a quiet Sunday afternoon, I got a notification from my front camera. A U-Haul had pulled into my driveway. I opened the live feed, and there they were. Chloe, Lucas, Brandon, and a giant golden retriever I'd never seen before. Furniture, suitcases, a few houseplants. They even had a brand new welcome mat that said "Home Sweet Home." I didn't panic. I didn't flinch, because I was ready. I walked outside calmly. Maya was already there, standing next to me like a bodyguard. And on my other side was Thomas, my lawyer, holding a bright red folder. Lucas looked up and grinned like this was just a regular moving day. "Hey, Natalie, you gonna help us unload or what?" I didn't respond. Thomas stepped forward and handed him an envelope. "This is a formal trespass notice," he said. "Effective immediately. You are not permitted to enter or remain on this property. Any attempt to do so will result in police involvement." Chloe's smile disappeared. She blinked like she didn't understand the words. Then her face crumpled and the tears started on cue. "You can't do this! We're family!" Brandon slammed the back of the U-Haul shut and snapped, "You owe us!" We spent over $20,000 on that wedding, assuming we'd be living here after you let her have the wedding here. You gave her a soft, "Yes, you don't get to back out now." Lucas stayed quiet, but his jaw was clenched, like he couldn't believe I'd actually follow through. Then I heard tires screeching. My mom's car pulled up so fast it nearly clipped the mailbox. She jumped out, waving her arms like someone was dying. "Natalie, what are you doing? She's pregnant." She actually yelled it like it was her trump card. Like I was supposed to gasp and immediately let them all move in. But I didn't even blink. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "She told her friends she made that up to pressure me. I have it on camera. Want to see the footage?" The look on my mom's face. It was like someone had slapped her. She didn't respond. She just stood there, mouth open like the words wouldn't come out. I turned back to Chloe and said, "You have 5 minutes to get off my property." Brandon started shouting again. Lucas muttered something about suing me. Chloe was full-blown sobbing, begging me to have compassion. My mom kept saying this isn't how family treats each other. And I was done. I stepped back, pulled out my phone, and called the police. They showed up 10 minutes later, two officers calm and collected. I showed them the trespass order, the text messages, the security footage. They didn't even ask questions. They told everyone to pack it up and go. The U-Haul rolled out of my driveway at exactly 5:07 p.m., followed by my mother's car slowly crawling down the street like a funeral procession. A few neighbors had come outside to watch, some with lawn chairs. One even offered me lemonade afterward and said, "You handled that like a pro." And in that moment, I realized something. It wasn't just about the house anymore. It was about control, about dignity, about finally standing up for myself and not backing down. They thought I'd cave. They thought the guilt would eat me alive. But this time, I chose me. I thought the nightmare was over once the U-Haul left my driveway. I thought they'd be too embarrassed to show their faces again. But Chloe doesn't do quiet. Chloe does drama, and this time, she brought it online. That same night, she posted a reel with soft piano music and sad filters, tears in her eyes, her wedding dress in the background. She said, "My sister made a pregnant bride homeless. We had nowhere to go. We were counting on family and they turned their backs on us." It got hundreds of shares in just a few hours. Her followers flooded the comments with broken hearts and angry emojis. They called me heartless, soulless, a control freak. Then the DMs started. Strangers telling me to do better, calling me a jealous old hag, telling me I'd regret this when karma came back around. They found my architecture firm and left 1-star reviews on Yelp. Comments like, "She kicked out her pregnant sister, don't trust her with your home design." It was surreal, like I was being digitally tarred and feathered. For 48 hours, I stayed silent. But on the third morning, I woke up, opened my phone, and saw a message from one of Chloe's friends. It said, "I know you've been quiet, but I thought you should know she's lying about the pregnancy. She told us at the bachelorette party it was fake just to get leverage over you." And that was it. I snapped. I sat down at my desk, opened a blank post, and wrote out a timeline. Every detail, every receipt, screenshots, texts, emails. I included the altered contract, the trespass notice, the wedding guest list they blew past, and then I posted the video, the one from the security camera footage of Chloe standing in my garage in her wedding dress, laughing with her bridesmaids, saying, "Once we're in, it's squatters' rights, right? She can't evict a pregnant woman, not without looking like the villain." The silence online afterward, deafening. At first, no one said a word. Then the tides turned. People started tagging her. "Is this you? Care to explain? You just got caught in 4K. Chloe tried to double down, but it was over. You can't cry your way out of video evidence." Her brand deals started dropping. Fast. Some skincare brand unfollowed her and quietly removed her from their ambassador list. A podcast she'd been scheduled to appear on deleted the promo post. But the biggest hit, Lucas's crypto buddies, his investor circle, pulled out of his latest startup. I heard through a mutual friend that they didn't even call him. They just transferred the project wallet to someone else and ghosted him completely. And just like that, the narrative flipped. Chloe went from poor pregnant bride to the girl who faked a pregnancy to steal her sister's house. Lucas became a meme on Reddit. Brandon tried to deny everything, but someone dug up screenshots of him bragging about the move-in plan in a private Discord. Me, I went private for a few days, turned off notifications, took a deep breath. Because for once, I didn't have to defend myself. The truth was out there, and it spoke louder than any tears Chloe could fake. In the weeks that followed, the dust finally started to settle. Chloe and Lucas moved out of state Nevada, apparently. They're living with Lucas's mom now in a small rental outside of Reno. From what I've heard, she's already tired of them. Especially after Chloe tried to help reorganize the house for better brand aesthetic. Brandon, he didn't go quietly. Someone I don't even know who sent my public post and the screenshots from his Discord to the authorities. Turns out he'd been running some shady investment scheme that finally caught up with him. The fraud charges stuck. He was arrested 2 weeks ago. As for my parents, I'm officially no contact with my mom and Rick. And it hurts, don't get me wrong, but the peace that came with that decision, unmatched. I spent years trying to earn approval that was never coming. Now I finally see that walking away isn't failure. It's freedom. Surprisingly, the people I reconnected with the most were my cousins. Turns out I wasn't the only one Chloe had manipulated over the years. One cousin told me Chloe had once guilted her into covering rent for 2 months. Another loaned her money for a brand launch that never happened. Now we joke about it in our group chat, the survivors of Chloe. But behind the jokes, there's something real, a shared understanding, a quiet kind of healing. And in the middle of all this chaos, I met someone. His name's Leo. He's a civil engineer, kind, steady, smart. He helped me install motion sensor lighting after the U-Haul incident, and we've been seeing each other ever since. What I love most is how he respects my boundaries. He doesn't try to fix me. He just supports me while I rebuild what they tried to tear down. And now, my home is peaceful again. No random visitors, no fake emergencies, no chaos. Just quiet mornings, late night tea, and windows that stay locked unless I decide to open them. I used to think home was just a place, but now I know my home is sacred. It's not just walls. It's peace I earned. And no one gets to take that from me, not even family. Thanks for sticking with me through this insane story. If you've ever had to set a boundary with someone you love, or walk away when it wasn't easy, drop a comment and let me know. You're not alone, and you don't owe anyone your peace. We post new stories like this every single day, so if you want more drama, more justice, and more wild Reddit-style chaos, don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.